Hey, my name is Daniel. I'm 29. And 3 months ago, I moved into a quiet cul-de-sac where every house looked perfect from the outside. Until one night, I heard my neighbor crying through the fence. And when she finally looked at me, jasmine and tears in the cool air, gold bracelet trembling against the wood, she whispered, "I haven't touched a man in 5 years. Can you help me?" I thought she meant sex. She didn't. She just wanted someone to hold her hand like she still existed. If you're watching this right now, tell me where you're from in the comments. Because I still don't know if what we did was wrong. I moved to Willow Court on a Saturday in late June. Hot, humid, the kind of day where the air stuck to your skin. I pulled up in a rented van that looked like it belonged in a different zip code. The houses here were all stone porches and black doors and lawns that looked like someone ironed them every morning. Mine was the shabby one at the end. Peeling paint, uneven grass. The landlord called it charming in the listing. I called it all I could afford. She was the first person I saw. Claire. I didn't know her name yet, just saw her on the porch across the street, signing for a delivery. Pale blue robe, hair tied back. She looked up when my van door slammed, gave me a polite wave. The kind neighbors give when they're not sure if you belong. I waved back. Then this older woman appeared with a tiny dog, pastel cardigan, sharp eyes. She walked right up to my van window. "Welcome," she said. "We've been waiting." Something about the way she said it made my neck itch. Her name was Evelyn. She told me about trash days and HOA rules and which neighbors to watch out for before I'd even unloaded my first box. The whole time, her eyes tracked every piece of furniture I carried. Around noon, a black SUV pulled into the driveway across from mine. Tall guy, expensive suit even on a Saturday. He came over with his hand out. "Mark Whitmore," he said. Firm handshake, insurance executive. He mentioned having connections if I ever needed work. I thanked him, tried not to sound desperate even though I was. He went back inside and I kept hauling boxes. College kids I'd hired helped, but mostly I was alone, sweating through my shirt, breathing in jasmine from Claire's yard and wondering what the hell I was doing in a place like this. My parents split when I was 12. Loud. Messy. My dad's stuff on the lawn. My mom crying in the kitchen. I swore I'd do better. Be stable. Build something that didn't fall apart. So far, I was 0 for 3. That night, I sat on my mattress on the floor. No bed frame yet. Just my laptop and a lamp. Through my window, I could see into the Whitmore house. Warm lights. Claire moved past the kitchen window. Dishes clinked. Everything looked perfect. I fell asleep to the hum of their porch light. Like a lullaby I didn't know I needed. The next morning I woke to lawn mowers and sprinklers. Willow Court had a rhythm. Everyone moved like clockwork. Claire's car left at 7:12 a.m. Mark's was already gone. Julia, mom of 2, 3 houses down, was loading kids into a minivan. Evelyn was clipping roses. I spent the day unpacking, setting up my desk, trying to make the place feel less temporary. Around 2, Julia knocked with a basket of muffins. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she said. Nervous smile, talked fast. She warned me about Evelyn's gossip. Then she said, "The Whitmores are the gold standard here. No drama, ever." I thought about Claire in that robe. The tired wave. "They seem nice," I said. "They are," Julia said. "Perfect marriage, perfect house. We should all be so lucky." She left, and I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop. Bills, overdue invoices, credit card maxed out. I had one promising email thread going. Someone who knew someone in insurance. I was hoping Mark could open that door. That evening, I watched the Whitmores again through my window. Habit already. Mark came home around 7, hugged Claire at the door, quick, polite. Then he was on his phone. She disappeared inside. Everything looked fine from where I sat. I heated a frozen meal, ate by the window, watched Claire wipe down counters, alone. Mark passed behind her once, patted her shoulder without looking up. Then, nothing. Just the hum of their porch light. I remember thinking that's what perfect must sound like. Quiet. 3 days later, a storm rolled in. I was at my desk working on a logo for some startup that would probably ghost me on payment. Rain started pounding. Thunder. Then my lights cut out. Power outage. I fumbled for my phone, used the flashlight to find candles, looked across the street. The Whitmore porch light was still glowing. Backup generator. Of course. Then someone knocked. I opened the door. Claire stood there in her raincoat over that same robe. She held a small box of candles and a portable battery. "Generator's running," she said. "Thought you might need to charge your phone." Her voice was softer than I expected. I followed her across the street. Rain soaked through my shirt. Inside her kitchen, everything smelled like citrus cleaner. Warm, immaculate. Framed photos everywhere. Vacation shots. A bowl of lemons on the counter. She showed me where to plug in my phone. We talked, small stuff. My work. Her consulting travel. The neighborhood HOA drama. She made a joke about Evelyn running the street like a warden. I laughed. Said her life seemed pretty pulled together from the outside. She looked at the photos. The perfect kitchen. She said. "Looks that way." Then she changed the subject fast. While she was showing me where the outlets were, she mentioned something casual, like it was nothing. "My room's upstairs. Mark's is down the hall. Generator's closer to his. Easier this way." My brain caught on that. Separate bedrooms. I didn't ask, just nodded. Took my charged phone. Thanked her. Walked back through the rain. When I got inside, I stood at my door, dripping wet, replaying that sentence. My room. His room. Maybe their lights weren't the only thing on backup. The next morning I got a text from my landlord about rent. Then a note about how a generous local sponsor had covered my security deposit. I called the property manager. "Who covered it?" I asked. "A neighbor with connections," she said. Wouldn't give details. Wanted to help a promising tenant. I assumed it was Mark. Made sense. Insurance exec, connections. I texted him a thank you. He sent back a thumbs up and deliver by Friday? Turns out he'd referred me for a small design project. Insurance materials. Not glamorous, but it paid. I said yes immediately. That afternoon, I saw Claire outside grabbing a package. I was getting my mail. We ended up at the driveway line. "Mark said he found you through the HOA list," she said. "Thought it might help you get started." I thanked her, said I owed him one. She smiled. Small. Tired. "He's good at that," she said. "Connecting people." Evelyn appeared from nowhere, always does. "We're so lucky to have such a helpful young man," she said to Claire. Eyes sharp. "Aren't we?" Claire's smile went polite. Distant. "Very lucky," she said. That night, I stood in my yard practicing small talk for some neighborhood barbecue Julia had invited me to. Across the street, I watched Claire load the dishwasher. Alone. Mark walked straight past her to his office. She glanced toward my house once, then turned away. The barbecue was at Julia's place. String lights, folding tables, kids running everywhere. I showed up with store-bought salad and felt immediately out of place. Evelyn introduced me around, pointed out who was who. dropped hints about their personal lives like she was handing out trading cards. The Whitmores arrived late. Claire looked polished, tired. Mark was on his phone between hellos. I ended up near Claire at the food table. We joked about overcooked burgers. When the music got louder, she leaned in close to say something. Someone bumped her from behind. She grabbed my belt loop to steady herself. Just her thumb? Hooked there, instinct. She let go immediately. "Sorry," she said. "It's fine," I said. I didn't think about it again. But Julia was taking photos, candid shots for the neighborhood group chat. One of them caught that exact moment. Claire's thumb on my belt. Her face turned toward mine. Out of context, it looked bad. I wouldn't know that until later. Mark talked to me before they left. Mentioned more work if the first project went well. Claire stood behind him, listening. Face blank. That night, I walked home buzzed on cheap beer. Saw Claire on her porch taking off her shoes. Our eyes met, just for a second. Then she went inside. I remember thinking it was nothing, just neighbors at a party. The next night, I heard them fighting, louder than before. Claire's voice breaking. Words spilled through my open window. "You're never here." I stopped asking. "Do you even remember the last time you touched me?" Silence. Then a door slammed. A few minutes later, I saw Claire in the backyard. Robe, pacing along the fence. I stepped outside. Didn't know if I should. She saw me. Stopped pacing. After a long pause, she walked to the fence. Her face was blotchy, eyes red. "Sorry about the noise," she said. "You don't have to explain," I said. She gripped the top of the fence, fingers trembling, gold bracelet clinking against the wood. Jasmine scent drifted over. She leaned closer. "I haven't touched a man in 5 years," she whispered. My stomach dropped. "Can you help me?" I must have looked panicked because she shook her head fast. Not like that," she said. I need to remember what it feels like, for someone to hold my hand, without it being a transaction." Her voice cracked. "I feel invisible," she said. "I told her we couldn't have an affair, couldn't blow up her life or mine." She agreed, said she wasn't asking for that, just comfort. We stood there, the fence between us, her hand on the top plank. Palm up. After forever, I placed my hand over hers, through the wood, not crossing the line. The contact was brief, electric. Then headlights appeared down the street. Neighbor coming home. We jerked apart. "We'll pretend this never happened," she whispered. She disappeared inside. I stayed in the dark, heart hammering, palms still tingling. The next morning I got a text from an unknown number. "It's Claire, about last night. We need rules." We met on our back steps that evening, far enough apart that no one could misread. She spoke first. "Only outdoor spaces," she said. "No closed doors, no bedrooms. No kissing," I added. "No sex. If either of us says stop, everything stops." I agreed. We sat there in the dark, mugs of tea, the fence between us. "I just need to remember what it feels like to be seen," she said. "I see you," I said. "From here." Her silhouette nodded. We didn't touch that night, but something had shifted. Over the next week, we built a routine. Every night after dark, we'd step outside with mugs, sit on our back steps, talk, safe topics, music, childhood, work. Monday, she told me about her father holding her hand crossing the street, how safe she'd felt. I told her my parents fought loud. Touch always felt temporary. Tuesday, our fingers brushed the fence, lingered. Wednesday, she was late. Traffic, I waited anyway. Friday, we toasted mugs in the dark, celebrating Mark's next project for me. Her laugh was soft. careful. When she stood to leave, her hand slid along the fence. Mine followed on my side. We didn't meet, but we almost did. 2 days later, I was fixing the fence. Claire was hanging lights, Sunday afternoon, bright, neighborhood active. We joked over the fence. Easy. Light. Mark texted her. He'd be home late. She relaxed, leaned closer. Her hand rested near mine on a loose board. Then she reached out. Fingers around my wrist. Testing. I didn't move. Time stretched. "Claire," Evelyn's voice cut through. "Did you get the HOA notice?" Claire jerked back like she'd been burned. I grabbed a hammer, pretended to work. Evelyn walked closer. Smiled. "People talk when they see a handsome young man always near one house," she said. Laughed to soften it. The message landed. Claire went inside fast. Moments later, Mark's SUV pulled in early. I heard his footsteps, the garage closing, muffled voices inside. I stood in my yard, heart pounding in my wrist where her fingers had been. 3 days later, she texted me. "Can you come over? Need a second opinion on paint?" I hesitated, remembered our rules, but it was daytime. About paint. I went. Inside, the citrus smell, the cool air, the tidy living room I'd only seen through windows. She led me to a hallway, 2 paint swatches on the wall. But we both knew paint wasn't why I was there. She started talking about the house. 12 years they'd lived here, painted this hallway the first week. "We were different then," she said. "Spontaneous. We'd take trips, fall asleep tangled up in hotel sheets." Her voice changed. 5 years ago, Mark's promotion started. Business trips, late nights, the stress. She told me the exact date. The last time they'd been intimate. She'd bought new sheets to celebrate his return from a conference. The next morning, something just cooled. "I thought it was a phase," she said. "Then months passed. Then years. I tried everything. Conversations, new clothes, therapy suggestions." She looked at me. "You can only ask for the same thing so many times before you feel like a beggar." I listened, felt protective, conflicted. Her hand brushed my arm once. She pulled back fast. "There's something else," she said. "About you being here. I should probably—" She looked at the clock. Panic flared. "Mark will be home soon." She ushered me out. The door closed. I stood on her porch, knowing something bigger was still unsaid. That night, I got a message from my property manager. Something about a thank you note from my deposit sponsor. I checked my account. Deposit paid by C. Whitmore. Not Mark. Claire. My phone buzzed. "About earlier. Can we talk? Back steps?" I stepped outside. She was already there. Sweater, hugging her knees. "I saw your post months ago," she said. "In the rental forum. You needed a place. Couldn't cover the deposit." She paused. "I recognized you from the cafe. Saw you working late once. I convinced Mark to support a local tenant. But when he hesitated, I used my own bonus. Routed it through the property manager." She looked at the fence. "When you moved in, part of me felt relieved. Someone here who doesn't know me as just a wife." I felt gratitude and dread. "I expected nothing in return," she said. "I wasn't planning this." We sat in silence. "Helping you was the last big decision I made for myself," she whispered. To ground herself, she reached out, hand flat on the fence, fingers barely over my side. After forever, I placed my palm over hers, pressing down, not lacing, just weight, warmth. The contact was longer than before. The porch light hummed. The street stayed silent. That was the moment I stopped being just the neighbor. Over the next 2 weeks, we fell into dangerous harmony. Monday, we shared playlists, song recommendations via text. My phone buzzed with her name. My chest fluttered. Tuesday, Mark emailed about more work. pleased with my performance. I told Claire that night. She smiled. I'm glad he sees what I saw. Our hands rested on the fence, closer than before. Wednesday, she vented about a bad client call. I didn't try to fix it, just listened. Thank you for not solving it, she said. Just hearing it? Thursday, she worked late downtown. Texted she wouldn't be back until after 10. I sat outside with my mug anyway. When her car finally pulled in, I pretended to be stepping out for air. She laughed, both of us knowing it wasn't coincidence. Friday, a stray cat crossed both yards. We joked about co-adopting it. Too obvious, she said. We called it ours anyway. One night, she shivered. I tossed my hoodie over the fence without thinking. She caught it, pressed it to her chest. I'll wash it and bring it back tomorrow. She disappeared inside holding my hoodie. I sat alone in the yard, feeling like part of me was hanging in her closet. The following Saturday, Evelyn cornered me by the trash bins. Getting to know the neighbors? She asked. Light tone, sharp eyes. Mark's been great with work referrals, I said. She smiled. You seem to mesh well with them, especially Claire. I played dumb, said I was grateful. Later, Julia stopped by, asked my opinion on a flyer design. Hesitant, she said, I posted barbecue photos in the group chat. One of them, people said it looked kind of intimate. You and Claire. She showed me her phone. The photo. Claire leaning in, thumb hooked on my belt, face turned toward mine. Out of context, it looked bad. I'm sure it's nothing, Julia said quickly, but Evelyn loves to stir things. That night, I texted Claire about the photo. She replied, I saw it. Told Mark it was nothing. Just be careful, okay? No emoji, no warmth. I waited on my back steps with my mug. The Whitmore door never opened. Only the faint glow of her laptop, the hum of the porch light. The street was watching now. 2 days later, Monday evening, I heard them fighting again. Louder. Longer. My name. Muffled once. Then sharper tones. Inside their house, Mark confronted Claire with Julia's photo. Evelyn had shown it to him with concern. I couldn't hear everything, but enough. You paid his deposit? Mark's voice, exploding. Furniture scraped. A door slammed. Silence. My phone buzzed. Claire. We crossed a line. Please keep your distance, for both our sakes. Moments later, another email from Mark, thanking me for my work, saying the company would be going in a different creative direction. No future projects, no referrals, a quiet cutoff disguised as professionalism. I sat in my dark kitchen, staring at 2 messages, the end of my closeness to Claire, the end of my main income, arriving almost simultaneously. Outside, the Whitmore house went dark, room by room. I deleted an unsent reply to Claire, whispered to myself, okay, distance, even though it already felt impossible. The next morning felt like waking up underwater, everything muffled, heavy. I forced myself into routine. Coffee, emails, nothing new, just rejection templates and cold leads. Paid a bill with money I didn't have. Sent out pitches to agencies that would probably ghost me. The silence from Mark's network made my fingers feel heavier on the keyboard. Over the next few days, I tracked time like a wound healing backward. Day 2. Claire's car left earlier than usual. Bolder lipstick. Like armor, we didn't wave. Day 3. Trash bins lined the curb. I walked out at the same time as her. Accident. She nodded, eyes flat. Went back inside without pausing. Day 4. Evelyn commented about how things have settled down. Rumors are so destructive if we give them oxygen, she said. I nodded. Said nothing. Every night I sat on my back steps with no mug, no expectation. The Whitmore porch light turned on, stayed solid, no flicker. Claire never appeared. On the 5th night, I said it out loud to no one. This is what she asked for. Went back inside to an inbox that felt as empty as the yard. About a week later, Noah texted me to meet at his bar. I'd been avoiding him, avoiding everyone. But I went. Friday evening. The bar was dim, sticky, smelled like beer and fried food. Noah took one look at me and shook his head. "You look wrecked, man." I told him a version of the story. Sanitized, no names. Older married neighbor, emotional mess, no cheating, but her husband killed my gigs. Noah leaned back, blunt as always. "You didn't sleep with her," he said, "but you became her husband without the ring. That's still crossing lines." He was right. "Guys like him don't forgive guys like you," Noah said. "You're the symbol of everything he's not doing." He offered to introduce me to a cafe owner who needed design work. Small stuff, but a start. I thanked him. Went home that night and found an email from Mark. Unexpected. Final assignment. Consider this a parting favor. Invoice as usual. Attached were presentation slides for his insurance firm. I opened the files. Among the documents was an internal memo, accidentally included. Personal boundary concerns involving an external contractor. My name, partially redacted but still identifiable. There was also an email thread, Claire defending me, insisting nothing inappropriate happened. "Don't punish him for my mistakes." Her message was firm, protective, pained. I closed my laptop, leaned back, heart hurting. She'd fought for me even as she pushed me away. Stared at the ceiling, listened to the porch light hum. Realized we were both being punished differently for something we never fully allowed ourselves to have. 7 days after that email, Julia texted me. "Small birthday thing for one of the kids. You should come. It'll be weird if you don't." I didn't want to go, but hiding would look worse. Saturday afternoon, Julia's backyard, balloons, kids screaming, neighbors mingling. I arrived with a bottle of soda and immediately regretted it. Claire and Mark came together. She wore a simple dress, subdued but collected. Mark stayed close, hand on her back, possessive, performative. Throughout the party, we avoided each other, but our paths crossed anyway, reaching for the same soda can in the cooler. Both jerking our hands back, passing near the dessert table, stiff smiles. Evelyn watched every non-interaction. "Distance can be as loud as closeness," she said to Julia. Julia looked uncomfortable. Noah showed up halfway through, brought by the cafe owner I was now working for. He clocked the tension immediately. "This place could be a reality show," he whispered. I helped fold chairs as the party wound down. Claire passed close enough to speak. "Thank you for coming," she murmured, without looking at me. "Thanks for inviting me," I said. Our eyes met. One heartbeat, then broke apart. We left in opposite directions, the distance between us heavier than any affair could have been. 3 nights after the party, I was at my desk around midnight, working on Mark's final slides, last thing I'd ever do for him. I got up to refill my water. Through my front window, I saw the Whitmore porch light flickering. On, off, on, off, then steady. I told myself it was faulty wiring, but something pulled at me. Over the next several nights, I started noticing a pattern. Night 1. Light flickered once when Mark's car left, then steadied. Night 2. No flicker, everything normal. Night 3. Light blinked twice quickly after Claire's car returned alone. I told myself I was imagining it, reading signals in a broken bulb. But the flickers only happened on nights when Mark was out late. One night, I tested it, stepped onto my front porch when the light flickered, didn't cross the street, just stood there. The light steadied. I swore I saw Claire's shadow move behind the frosted glass, the hum of the bulb. Cool night air. Keys clinking in my hand. Pulse loud in my ears. On the last night of that week, the light flickered 3 times, paused, then glowed steady. 3 soft knocks. That's what Claire used to do on the fence, before our nighttime talks. I stood on my porch, frozen. Whispered, "No, it's just broken." But my knuckles were white on the railing. The next night, I couldn't focus on work. Spent the day replaying porch light patterns, feeling ridiculous. To justify being outside, I borrowed Julia's dog. Said I needed company on walks. That evening, I walked the dog around the cul-de-sac. Felt stupid, looking for meaning in a light bulb. First pass by the Whitmore house. The light was off. Later, I stepped onto my own porch without the dog, just to breathe. Mark's car was gone. Right then, the porch light flickered twice. Stopped. Once more. Uneven, but intentional. I decided to test it. From my porch, I flashed my phone flashlight once toward my driveway. Low, subtle. Waited. The Whitmore porch light flickered twice again. Like an answer. My heart raced. Someone was controlling the switch. Likely Claire. This was the only way she felt safe talking to me now. I lay in bed that night, considering whether to ignore it. Ignoring might be kinder, safer. But I was already reading the codes. As I got up to turn off my hallway light, I glanced through the blinds. The Whitmore porch light blinked once, slowly, then went dark. I whispered into my empty room. "Okay, I hear you." 2 nights later, I couldn't sleep. I'm sitting at my kitchen table, scrolling through old, unsent messages to Claire. At 2:11, brightness caught my eye through the window. The Whitmore porch light came on. Blinked 3 times. Rhythm I recognized. Pause. 1 more blink. Her signal. The one she used to knock on the fence. Heart pounding, I walked to my back door, looked out. Something rested on the fence. A mug. Steam barely visible in the cold. I stepped into my backyard. Barefoot. Grass cool beneath my feet. Approached the fence. Rough wood under my fingertips. The mug was one of hers, filled with tea. On my own step, I'd left my mug earlier. Empty. The mirroring hit me. A soft sound made me look up. Claire stepped out onto her back steps, wrapped in her robe, hands tucked into sleeves. She didn't cross the fence, didn't speak at first. We stood in the dark. Wood between us. Ritual uniting us. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "For everything." Her voice shook. "I panicked when Mark confronted me. Thought cutting you off completely was the only way to protect you." She explained that Mark dropped his referrals after Evelyn's insinuations. "I've been using the porch light," she said. "It's the only thing he doesn't pay attention to." I told her I found the memo. Knew she'd defended me. We stood there, talking deeper than we ever had. No pretense left, both fully aware of the stakes. After a long silence, Claire stepped closer to the fence, still on her side. Rested her forehead gently against the top plank. I lifted my hand, pressed it over the spot where her forehead was. Never actually touching skin, but bridging the distance. Then slowly she slid her hand along the top of the fence. Palm up. I placed my hand over hers. Briefly. Then let go. The porch light across the street turned off. We both stepped back into our houses, having crossed back into each other's lives in the quietest way possible. The days after that 2 a.m. reunion, we didn't text, didn't talk in person. But the next evening, when I took out my trash, I saw a scarf draped over the fence. Claire's side. The same scarf she'd worn the first week I moved in. I left it there, respecting her boundary. The next day, it was folded neatly on my side. Faint jasmine scent clinging to it. I laundered it, placed it back on the fence the following day. Folded. No note, no words. That evening, I sat on my back steps with a mug. Claire appeared on hers at roughly the same time. We talked lightly. Weather, the stray cat, a neighbor's new car. Never touched on what happened between us directly. But the care was obvious. Mugs scraped softly on wood. Parallel. We established a new routine without saying it out loud. Once a week we'd step outside with mugs, say nothing about the past, only talk about safe things. Occasionally, Claire would blink the porch light once when Mark was out. I'd reply with a single flashlight ping through my window, but I rarely stepped outside anymore, keeping suspicion low. We exchanged song recommendations again, through anonymous playlists now, shared public account, no direct texts. The emotional intimacy was still there. But we were fiercely careful to stay within appropriate bounds. No lingering touches, no explicit confessions. A relationship of routines and signals more than physical closeness. One evening during this phase, Claire stood to go inside. Paused. Hand on the fence. Didn't turn around. Just let her fingers brush the top plank once. I stayed seated. Watched her hand. Deliberately chose not to stand and meet it. Instead, I lifted my mug in a small, invisible toast. Let her walk away. Understanding that sometimes restraint is the only way to keep what little we have. By the time the leaves at the edge of Willow Court started to turn, a few quiet weeks had passed. Early autumn. I'd begun picking up clients through Noah's connections. Local businesses, small cafes, slowly stabilizing. My life was no longer financially tethered to Mark, even if my heart still was, indirectly, to Claire. The new normal looked like this. Claire's car leaving at 7:12 a.m. Always. But I didn't wait at the window anymore. The stray cat weaving between yards, owned by no one, accepted by everyone. The porch light blinking once occasionally. Not desperate, just quiet. I'm still here. Matching mugs lifted on separate back steps, carefully timed so we could see each other, without needing to speak. At a small HOA meeting in Julia's driveway, we both appeared as polite neighbors. Evelyn complained about porch lights being left on too late. Claire and I exchanged a brief, calm look. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. Later, that night, I sat alone in my kitchen. Untouched mug in front of me. I thought about how it started. A storm, a generator, a photo, a confession about 5 touchless years. We never slept together, never kissed, never said certain words. But that doesn't mean we weren't unfaithful in other ways. I walked to my back door, stepped outside with my empty mug. Across the yard, the Whitmore porch light blinked on. Then blinked once. I didn't move closer to the fence this time, just wrapped my hands around the empty mug, stared at that fence, and let myself feel it. The ache, the longing, the impossibility, the weight of all the words we never said. Some nights, when her porch light blinks once and my phone stays silent, I wrap my hands around an empty mug, stare at that fence, and tell myself that sometimes the closest you're allowed to get is still closer than you ever thought you'd be. Maybe this isn't a love story. Maybe it's just the story of 2 people who refused to stay untouched, even if touch was the one thing we could never really have. Some doors never fully close, some hands never fully let go.